Before we can weigh anchor and leave this country for good, we had a couple more items to clean and store away. A hurricane anchor chain and rod had to be stored, along with, of course, our hurricane anchor. Our dinghy motor also had to be back into his compartment. Dory had to be cleaned. And we all know why we love her so much. In a matter of minutes, she was nicely folded and put away. After a few hours, everything was ready to go. Uma was on sailing mode and we were off to a new, big, amazing adventure.
So how do you feel?
So excited.
Yeah?
We're leaving Miami. We went underneath our last bridge for a long time. And I can't wait to go home. It's going to be so awesome. Such a different experience.
It was such a nice feeling to watch the city getting smaller and smaller and smaller, knowing we will not be coming back around here anytime soon.
Well, we have officially made it across the Gulf Stream. It was pretty smooth.
It wasn't too bad at all, actually.
It took us a little longer than we expected because we had this great idea of not cleaning our hull before we left, because you guys wanted to see how well our copper bottom was holding up, and we did some tests while we were in Miami, but the water's really murky there and hard to kind of see. So we thought we'd sail the Bahamas and show you when we got to clear water, not really realizing it was going to take like 2 knots off our boat speed. So in hindsight, we probably should have just cleaned our hull before we left.
Yes.
But
sacrifices for you guys.
it looks like we're going to sail one more night and then anchor tomorrow at our first anchorage in the Bahamas. And we'll jump in and we'll finally get to clean our hull so we can actually sail at a decent boat speed after that.
Oh, and the best part, today we caught dinner. We caught a barracuda and it looks really good and it's going to be really good for dinner tonight.
Well, last night we got to our anchorage a little bit early. And because it's the Bahamas and it's very shallow, we didn't want to sail in at night, obviously. So we hove to and slept for the last couple of hours, which was really nice. And then we were waiting for the sun to rise a little bit higher so we can go in and anchor for the day and check out some shallower water, clean the bottom of our boat, eat some good breakfast, all that jazz. We're in 50 feet of water and you can see the bottom. I'm so excited.
It is like a cat. Meow. 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 Our first calm anchorage was located on the north side of Berry Island. Turns out we were in between two cruise ship islands. But it was calm enough to stay for a day or two. So we dropped our sails, dropped our hook, and first thing first, we dropped ourselves in the water. So now that we are in super clear waters that I can actually see, we can give you a little copper bottom update. Bear in mind guys that copper coat, a known marketed product, is not what we have. What we have on UMA is an epoxy with copper powder that we purchased for a much cheaper price and then mixed it ourselves. We never heard of anyone else using this specific product before, so we were pretty much guinea pigs. So because we used it, we're not guaranteeing that this will work. Just like a lot of things we do, this is a big experiment. Which is why we are testing it before we can even claim that it holds. That being said, here's what we have so far. 10 months ago, before we launched, we painted the hull. The theory is that the super strong stuff will last years before we need to haul out and paint the bottom again. When we launched, we stayed in the nasty boatyard water for about 6 months. We checked the hole after we left, and nothing major grew on it, just soft grassy stuff. That was a good sign. We roughly cleaned the bottom once and went to Wilmington in a river. We stayed there for 4 weeks, and when we came out there was some barnacles, but we figured it was because it's the river and weird things grow in there. We roughly cleaned the bottom again. So then we sailed to Miami. And after 6 weeks of being anchored in Miami and not cleaning the bottom, everything was full of barnacles. The anchor chain, the dinghy motor, even the swim ladder. And yes, we know we probably should not have left a few of these items in the water, but we did, so let's move on. And the hull, just like the rest, was also covered in bumpy big barnacles. So we scraped the entire thing. I don't know if it's the Biscayne Bay water, but less than 2 weeks later it was covered again. And here we are today, in super clear waters, cleaning it once more. Another theory of ours is that we should have resanded the bottom from time to time to reactivate the copper, because it worked so well for the first 6 months, and afterward we believed that the copper started wearing off. So before we left Miami, we slightly sanded a small section of the rudder and left the rest as it was. Turns out the area that we sanded still has a few things on it, but significantly less than the rest of the hull. And while we're here, we're going to spend some time scraping and sanding Uma's bumm, and we'll keep an eye on it for the next few months while in the Caribbean. And once she has a clean bottom, we'll be able to sail faster, point higher, and have better tacks. So that is it for this episode. We are super duper excited to share with you our next leg of this crossing and our next step. But until then, cheers!
Get off! I'm telling you, maybe get some dinner. It's not a place for you to sit.
Bye bye, Miami. Woo. Miami's so small now. I can walk on Miami. fish.